welcome back. I'm just going to continue on because I just shared something really deep and things are just flowing through me, so there's no time for a wardrobe change. I'm just going to I'm just going to continue to share. So I'm piggybacking on the video that I just posted, the January 13th Healing Day video, and how I watched that movie, Mao's Last Dancer, and how I had that immediate release of trauma and pain I've been carrying around my whole life. And so to piggyback on that, that actually happened to me another time in my life, and I wanted to share that because I was the receiver of this amazing healing, and then yesterday I actually got to be the deliverer of this healing to somebody that I just met. So I wanted to share that with you. So powerful. So back in around like 2009, I want to say, I was going through a period of depression in my life, and it's because I was in this relationship. I was married very briefly. Gosh, I mean, there's so much that I kind of need to give you the details about so you understand why I was so depressed and how I couldn't snap out of it. But he left me, and he was, just really following my core limiting belief of being abandoned and nobody loved me. That was what I believed my whole life. So he was just going on. He was just another player in my script, in my book of life. But at the time, like, I wasn't aware of that. So all I felt was like I met this person and he was a soulmate. We have many soulmates. Like, there's a belief, and I hope I don't go off on too many tangents. This is what happens. There is this untruth and there's programming through our society that there's one person out there for everybody. And it's not true. There are many, you have many soulmates. I mean, that would make sense if we're multi-dimensional beings that have multiple experiences and lifetimes and timelines, and there's billions of people in the world. You really think there's one person for each person? No, we have multiple soulmates. So anyway, he was a soulmate that came into my life. We fell in love, and he was really the first man that I gave myself 100% to. I trusted, I opened up and just gave 100% of me. And to make a long story short, in the end he left, which I was shocked because when I met him, he was a virgin. Yeah, he was 37, and this is a true story. He was a virgin, and because he was very strict practicing Catholic, and he believed that, he only wants to give himself to one woman. And even though we weren't married yet, he said we were soulmates and we were spiritually married. So he gave himself to me, and yeah, and I got pregnant, of course. And so we got married, and just so I would have insurance and coverage. And I was really I remember that was probably one of the most happiest times in my life, where I felt like I was truly loved and that I had a place in the world. And it was really all an illusion. I mean, it felt real at the time, and I'm sure it was in some way, but then it was just gone. It left because we went to India together to study yoga, and when we got to India, we were looked at each other and we're like, what happened? Because it was something was definitely lost and gone between us. And then we got back from India, and one day I came home from work and all his stuff was gone. He just left me, and I was devastated, and I couldn't get out of his funk, and I just thought he was the one man that I trusted, and how could he do that? And he wanted to get a divorce. I'm like, you were a virgin Catholic, you were going to become a priest, then you married me and wanted to have my baby, now you want a divorce? Nothing made sense. And so yeah, I was pretty depressed. And we were both doing yoga studies, but I was continuing on in my 500-hour yoga course. And my teacher, Moksha Priya, who's this amazing little yogi saint, and she was like that type of person that would just, you know, walk by you. And she was German. She was a tough lady, but she had like this amazing heart inside. And I was afraid of her at first, but then I really got to know her, and she's just a sweetie inside. But I remember one day I was sitting there and I was really depressed. I was in class and she walked by me and she's like, "What's wrong?" And I said, you know, I was just kind of like, And I said, and she kind of knew what was happening, and I said, "Mokshapriya, I trusted him. You know, like, he was the first person in my life that I opened up to and trusted." And she looked at me and she said, "We're not meant to trust other humans. We're only meant to trust God," and walked away. And I was like, oh, wow. It was sort of like, boom, boom, all these little, like, light bulbs were going off. And I was like, she's right. And that feeling of being depressed, it just lifted. It was just like gone. I was like, oh, okay, got it, I'm back, you know? And I realized it's not that humans are bad, it's just that everybody's wounded. You know, we're all walking around with all these wounds and traumas, and not all of us are doing the work and processing it out and healing. And so if we're not doing the work and taking responsibility for our own shadow side, our own wounds, and then what happens is we project that out onto those closest to us. And so that was happening, and I was able to forgive him. You know, it took a long time, but I realized that really cemented my faith even more, like my faith in, and if you have an issue with the word God, because I understand, like, so many people, we've been so programmed and like bashed in with like religion that some of us is just like, we hear God and we're like, we shut down. So you don't have to use that word, but just having that belief in a higher power, and that there is something to this universe that is loving and good and benevolent, and that's truly what everything is made of, and that is what's supporting us, embracing us, and holding us up, is that love. And that's the one thing you can count on and trust. And for me, because I never had that parental family, that nuclear family, and I'm sure I'm not just the only one, there's so many of us come from broken families, and mine was just a little extreme where I really like had no parents or family, and you know, just alone in the world, just having to like kind of raise myself and having to depend on something higher, a higher power, an energy, a force, a benevolence that was not in the average person, but something outside, whether you want to call it God, Mother Nature, Gaia, the Creator, whatever, source energy. But I had that. That's what gave me that trust and that faith. And so when she said that to me, I was like, oh yeah, she's absolutely correct. And so I wanted to share something else. And yesterday I went to get an oil change for my car, and I decided, you know, I'm gonna go for a walk and walk to my favorite thrift store to wait past time. And then as I got to the thrift store, I saw my friend working in the crystal store next door, so I went into the crystal store instead to say hi to my friend. And I met this guy who was just like appeared, and he noticed I was wearing this lapis lazuli pendant, and he, you know, said, "Wow, it's beautiful." And then we just started talking, and it was like easy and like simpatico, like like, oh, there you are, we're just like talking. And then we ended up, he walked me back to my car. It was like a 15-minute walk, and then he stayed at the mechanic, waited for me, and we were just having this beautiful exchange of just sharing of like spiritual things. And he was going through, he was 44 years old, he was going through these spiritual awakenings in his life, and he had all these questions, and he said to me, "Can I ask you a spiritual question?" I was like, "Sure." he was experiencing like opening in his clairvoyance and seeing things before they happened, and some of them weren't very pleasant. And so when he said, like, he wanted to understand it, and he shared it with me, and then I looked at him, and then I just responded in a way where and when I respond, when I have these like exchanges with people, I kind of just, I guess you would say, I would just channel it, like whatever comes through me, and I gave it to him. I shared it, and he said, wow. He's like, you don't understand. He's like, I've been going to like a therapist for years, and I have this other friend that I treasure, and I rely on his opinion, and I asked them both about this, and what they said to me didn't really make me feel better. He said, I've had so much like inner turmoil and conflict about what I was experiencing, and what you just said just lifted that and made that all go away. He was just like thankful for what I shared with him, and yeah, so it felt really good to be on the other end, to be the deliverer. Like, it seemed like for my whole life I was the receiver of like help and guidance, and it just feels good to be in this empowered place of owning my truth and being a divine, unfiltered channel for light, because I finally feel like I can be in that place and stand rooted in my own sovereignty and feel confident that I could share this and share truth with others, because I've done 20 years of doing the work and processing my own stuff and accepting my shadow side and integrating it and taking responsibility for everything. And so I'm able to finally be in an empowered place where I could give back and help others. And when I met this lovely soul, one of the first questions he asked me yesterday was, he said, what is your passion? And I said, I thought about it, and then I said, helping other people. That's really what brings me the most joy, the most fulfillment to my soul, is being able to help somebody and like really make a difference in their life. It's just, that's it. I mean, it might sound cliche or corny, but that's, for me, that's everything, and that's my whole purpose. So yeah, I wanted to share that with you on this amazing day, another beautiful day in paradise. So thanks for tuning in, and I'd love for you to leave a comment and to share anything that you've resonated with, or that comes to your heart as you're listening to me speak. Please feel free to open up and share with me as well. And thank you for listening. As always, the soul fire in me, I give to you. Aho. The soul fire in me, I give to you. Aho. To learn more about my offerings, visit my website at igniteyoursoulfire.com. Please subscribe to my channel and comment below, my soul family. Thank you for being here on our precious planet Gaia at this time. Your light matters. You matter. You make a difference in the world by just being you. Ahuiho, until our hearts meet again. You are loved.